Hello, and welcome to coverage of Grand Prix Z for the MSEM format. I'm Caillou, and today we're going to be watching the round. Oh, well, actually, it's not a round at all. It's the top seven. We've made the cut, and these are the players who got there. So we're going to be watching the top seven match between JustNobody, who's on Grixis Buying Time, and HerziQuerzi, who's on Green Blue Landstorm. So both these players are playing kind of combo decks. JustNobody's deck is very similar to Ad Nauseam. Essentially, he has an extra turn spell, which allows him to take an extra turn, can't lose that turn, but then he loses the game after that turn. Uses that in conjunction with a spell which basically you pay any number of life, draw your deck, and then keeps casting extra turn spells and has like a combo from there. Meanwhile, Herzi's deck aims to use some of these land auras to make untappers generate positive mana. Basically, puts a bunch of auras on a single land, and then cantrips for a bunch, and then aims to win the game that way. Anyways, so Jayan plays a Duress turn 1, revealing Primal Resurgence, Sleeping Dryads, Reconsider, Conjure Realities. So Conjure Realities is a really strong card. I think, though, at this point, you can slow Herzi down by grabbing a Primal Resurgence, or if you're worried about interaction, grabbing a Reconsider. This is difficult. I think it all comes down to what else Jayan has in hand. I think Sleeping Dryads is probably the only target here that isn't likely to be grabbed. But yeah, let's see. So yeah, grabs Primal Resurgence. That makes a lot of sense because it's Herzi's only turn 1 play in that hand. It's also like Herzi's like nut draw involves playing a Primal Resurgence and then just kind of stacking another land aura on top of that same land and then drawing it to untappers. So Herzi's going to turn 1, play Mysterious Cataract and pass. Doesn't really have much else. Jayan playing a Dark Bargain. This is essentially a Night's Whisper, except you can delay it. It's also an enchantment, which has some relevant synergies. I'm going to play a Barren Desolation untapped. Jayan is really hammering his life total, but I think the thing is, in this matchup, that's totally fine to do. If Herzi starts going off, no matter what life total you're at, you are basically going to lose. So you can aggressively crack those shock fetches, cantrip and lose life, because you just want to have as much tempo efficient plays as possible. So Jayan grabbing a Flooded Morass. Does Jayan have any 1 mana spells at instant? Has Pocket Aces at instant, but I don't think you would cast Pocket Aces now. I assume that this is just to be able to crack Dark Bargain on Herzi's end step. So Herzi going to grab an island off the Mysterious Cataract. Usually the shock fetches are used to grab typed duels. In Landstorm, however, you always want to have basic lands. One, because they're much fewer land destruction spells hit them, which isn't really relevant in most matchups. The more relevant thing is that lots of land auras, like Primal Resurgence says, it can only be enchanted onto a basic land, etc. And I believe there's an untapper which untaps a basic land. So yeah, on end step, Jayan is going to crack the Dark Bargain, getting full value out of it. So Jayan going to play another shock fetch untapped. Probably going to be fixing for, I guess Jayan only really needs red to be able to combo off, but if Jayan doesn't have any other shock fetches, might as well just get a red land right now, like a red-black check land. Yep, getting Lava Torn Fields. Snow has access to all 3 of his colors, also has triple black if Jayan has a villainy here that he wants to tap out for. Of course, if Jayan has interaction, probably doesn't want to tap out. Jayan has Thought Blossom, which is really good in this matchup, but really only for grabbing the final win con. At which point, Herzi probably already has a Reconsider to counter the Thought Blossom. Memento Mori, which does close to stone nothing in this matchup. It can you can exile Graveyard to stop a past, present, future from Herzi, or you can make Herzi sack a Moonlit Hunter before it goes off. But other than that, both of those pieces of interaction don't do much. Jayan is really relying on having, I think, lots of hand attack right now. So yeah, Jayan did just pass. So again, Jayan has instant speed interaction, but it's not super great. Could just be holding up both the Thought Blossom and a Fateful Journey, or like a Memento Mori plus Fateful Journey, and then Fateful Journey grab one of the win cons, or Fateful Journey on end grab Hand Attack. I don't know what JN would look for, but I think it depends on how aggressively JN wants to go for the combo or go for win cons here. Herzi's going to cast Conjure Realities. So basically, Conjure Realities is, I think, one of the strongest new cards added to MSEM. It tutors for any creature, instant, or sorcery in your deck, puts it into your hand, and then you get to Abound, which means you get to cast a card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your hand without paying its cost. Because normally the downside of tutors is that they're a tempo loss, but Conjure Realities mitigates that harshly. So grabbing a Buyin Thoughts, interesting. So this is essentially allowing, because Herzi's down to 3 cards in hand. And a bounce Pocket Aces from Herzi's hand. So Pocket Aces is a one of in Herzi's deck. It essentially is a cantrip, but it's Herzi's only way of putting win cons into their deck. So I think playing it right now before JN can untap and have Hand Attack makes a lot of sense. So Herzi actually doesn't have any win cons made, just has a bunch of ways to generate mana. Having the one of Pocket Aces is a good way, so that because you can sometimes brick by just running into too many win cons early on when you're comboing off. So Pocket Aces lets you shuffle them in mid combo, and then you can keep drawing cards and then cantrip into them, or use something like Conjure Realities to search up for a win con. It's interesting that JN didn't have a Fateful Journey on the end of Herzi's turn, because I assume that's the only reason that you wouldn't tap out there. That or JN has a bunch of high cost cards. That or JN really wanted to hold up a Thought Blossom slash a Memento Mori. But then if you have a Thought Blossom, I don't know, I personally would Thought Blossom the Conjure Realities, but I could also see the argument for waiting to see what Herzi searches and then countering that. If Herzi searches for a non like one of the Moonlit Hunters, though, you can't counter that. Though I guess in that case JN might have Memento Mori for that, as if JN has Memento Mori plus Thought Blossom, the Conjure Realities resolve may be the right call. I don't know. I still feel like if JN had Thought Blossom right there, he would have just countered the Conjure Realities, especially because he could use the Conjure Realities himself, and then Conjure Realities search up a combo piece, Conjure Realities tap out, and then search up a villainy, immediately play a villainy, stuff like that. And JN just going to end again. So Herzi has Primal Resurgence. JN probably doesn't want to counter this, but then, just getting up mana is really good. This does mean that unless Herzi has an untapper, Herzi doesn't have enough mana to cast Buyin Thoughts this turn, and therefore can't go off this turn. We also know that Herzi has Reconsider, so I think Herzi is probably going to wait until they have enough mana to play both Buyin Thoughts and Reconsider in the same turn to be able to counter a Thought Blossom. Though also the problem with that is that JN just keeps holding up mana. So if JN does have a Thought Blossom, JN will have the 2 to also pay for Reconsider. So Herzi is also going to be going to end. So JN tapping out for an all or nothing. Wow, okay. So doing this is this on Herzi's end? Yep, this is on Herzi's end. So I think Herzi's just thinking about whether or not to reconsider this. And this is another thing that I was saying, you can be really blasé with your life total. So JN can just go super deep on this all or nothing to just draw a bunch of cards and then hopefully hit something important. Herzi lets it resolve. I'm I don't think I'd ever expect a fair all or nothing to be played. And drawing 5, that's risky. So it's going to be taking 8. Oh god, this is becoming very close to killing JN right here. If this last card isn't a land, JN dies, because so far JN takes. Oh wait, no, I don't know how to count. So JN takes 13 damage here, is down to 1 life. almost screwed himself right there. So hits a Stolen Secrets, which is good. That's hand attack. Double Memento Mori, I think. No, Memento Mori, Fateful Journey. So this is really good for Jayan. A bunch of interaction, 2 of his WinCon card, and then like some like additional like tutors. Fateful Journey can't be used for anything but lands anymore, unfortunately, because or it can be used on like buy time turns, but it can't be used like as a fair tutor pre-combo. So Jane is going to tap 1 for Stolen Secrets, naming instant or sorcery or enchantment. Sorcery hits Buyin Thoughts, instant hits Reconsider. And Herzi's going to let this resolve. I'm not going to try and reconsider it. We're not going to cycle Reconsider in response. So Jayan named sorcery, grabs the Buyin Thoughts. Herzi's only down to Reconsider in hand. And tapping out for Villainy. Okay. This allows Jayan to start recouping the life loss. Again, not that it matters, but actually it could matter for tutoring with Fateful Journey. On end step, Herzi's going to cycle Reconsider. If Herzi hits another Buyin Thoughts, this is like the perfect time to start going off. And yeah, Jayan has to discard to hand size because he drew 5 cards. Discards Wave of Decay because, Herzi only has 1 creature, and if Herzi has that creature out, it doesn't matter. Discards Memento Mori, which lets me know that he probably has another Memento Mori. Because I think you keep Memento Mori here as like instant speed way to kill a Moonlit Hunter or to exile Grave, just because instant speed interaction in general is super useful. Oh no, Herzi's making into mana trackers. That means Herzi must have top decked something good. Shifting Terrain. Yep. It's mana positive, 1 mana positive, and cantrips. No, but that's all Herzi had because Herzi drew into a forest. So Herzi's hand right now is whatever they hit off of Shifting Terrain or their draw this turn and Wayfarer's Shrine. Meanwhile, Jayan gets to untap with the Villainy, which you see your opponent doing that, you have to be scared. So Jayan going to start off with a Dark Bargain, shocks Herzi in the face for 2. And I guess I feel like cantrips isn't really what Jayan wants here. I feel like a buy time. Like I guess Jayan doesn't have an all or nothing, like a second all or nothing. So could just be playing cantrips to gain life. But doesn't have a second black non-creature spell. Okay, because my thought was on upkeep is going to buy time and then start all or nothing. Yep, on Herzi's upkeep, plays buy time and drains Herzi for 2. I'm not sure why. I have to ask Jayan, maybe I'm missing something, but why do this on Herzi's upkeep instead of Jayan's own turn? Because Herzi still gets this 1 turn, or I guess Herzi can't combo off this turn because Jayan's protected. Oh my god, and Herzi just has to play Wayfarer's Shrine and pass. And now Jayan gets an extra turn. We know Jayan has a second buy time. And if Jayan has like another all or nothing, that would be crazy. That is the combo, and I don't know that Jayan would buy time without having it, but you never know. Yep, there's the all or nothing. Oh, but yeah, Herzi has a reconsider. So gonna counter the all or nothing. Herzi gets shocked. JustNobody cracking the Dark Bargain to draw a card. Does Jayan just lose here? I've forgotten how buy time works. Oh no, because duh. Because this is now Jayan's normal turn. Because that was Jayan's extra turn, so it doesn't go back to Herzi's. Yeah, okay. So if Jayan can't all or nothing plus so Jayan I guess just has to buy time again. Yeah, so Jayan's gonna buy time again. Shock Herzi. See, I don't know how Jayan wins here, because Jayan needs to get up to 8 mana to be able to cast an all or nothing plus a buy time in the single turn. Oh, and can't gain life off of villainy either, so yeesh. So here we go. Here's a third buy time. It drains 2. Is that every buy time in Jayan's deck? No, Jayan has 4 buy times. I was thinking of all or nothing. It only has 3 of those. I still don't see how Jayan can win here. I'm probably missing something, but I'm because so Jayan takes another turn. In that turn, needs to have I guess 5 black non-creature spells to be able to drain Herzi out. Otherwise, it goes to Herzi's turn, and Herzi just wins because of how buy time works. Unless I'm misreading buy time. Oh no, buy time doesn't. I for some reason thought that buy time may. Well, I guess the idea is that since Jayan is at 0 life, he would lose the game. So yes, Jayan will lose the game if he doesn't win this turn. Jayan loses the game. Jesus, the 4th buy time. I think this is crazy luck on Jayan's end. So now Jayan just needs 4 black non-creature spells. Has a Zetla. That's 1. So puts Herzi down. Actually, this makes it so that it makes it so that Jayan only needs 2 black non-creature spells because drains Herzi for 1. Next turn drains Herzi for an additional 1 with Zetla, and then just needs 2 more spells to be able to hit Herzi for 4 life off the villainy. Yep, pings with Zetla. 3 for another villainy. And 1 more black non-creature spell will do it. And Memento Mori. That's it. Jayan takes game 1 off of what I think I would call one of the luckiest strings of hits I've ever seen, having all 4 buy times in the top 30 cards of his library. Anyways, let's look at sideboards before game 2. So I think Essence Inversion is good here because then you can just stop a big Buyin Thoughts, grab 4 cards off of that. Flesh Rod isn't worth it. Deathless Siege, I think Herzi gets like a huge amount of mana when Herzi starts going off, so I don't think it's worth it. Worlds Colliding, I think, is part of a Pocket Aces combo, so it's not like a sideboard material card. Recoil maybe to deal with like resolved auras. Kind of sus about it, but maybe. Kagetsu is part of a combo. Prying Inquiry because Jayan does want interaction. So I think Thought Blossom, Essence Inversion, Prying Inquiry. Wave of Decay is not for this matchup. Soliloquy. That works. It's a sorcery though. So it is not a pseudo time walk. It is just a way to stop Herzi from interacting, which Herzi does not have that much interaction, so I don't think Soliloquy will be coming in. Meanwhile, on Herzi's side, Empty the Barracks, Fire and Ashes, those are both like just win cons. Same with Mystic Arts. Those are all meant to be pocket aces in. So Herzi's other plan is to play a fair game with like Wellspring Creation, Aether Ascendant, and Shinran Spellhunter. Is this the matchup where you can do that though? Because I feel like the villainy just kind of dumpsters on playing creatures, and Herzi can just like, and Herzi needs to win the game incredibly fast to stop Jayan from like going off. And the best way for him to do that is just a combo instead of like playing like something that attacks Jayan's like life total slowly, which is easily dealt with by villainy. So yeah, I think Herzi's just going to stick with the same main board and stick with the combo plan and hope that Jayan doesn't get as ridiculously lucky as he did game 1. Okay, so we're getting into game 2. Both players kept at 6. Herzi opening up with an island, which usually you want to see Herzi opening up with a forest and then a turn 1 land aura. But yeah, unfortunate. And Jayan has another turn 1 duress. This is exactly what he wants. Seek Prophecy, Primal Resurgence, Reconsider, Conjure. Why didn't Herzi play the Seek Prophecy turn 1? I'm actually really confused by that. Is it... Also, why didn't Herzi play Forest into Primal Resurgence? I guess, yeah, Jayan just takes the Primal Resurgence. I'm so confused by this. I feel like... I guess maybe the thought was Herzi wanted to put the Primal Resurgence on the island to have double blue? So that... Because Herzi wants more blue mana for Buyin Thoughts? I still think that's hella greedy, though. Yeah, I have no clue. I don't know. Like, of course, Herzi is the experienced Landstorm pilot, but I really feel that whole turn 1 felt like a mess to me. Anyways, Herzi now turn 2, casting the Seek Prophecy. Yeah, not casting the Seek Prophecy turn 1 also prevents Herzi from holding up Reconsider here, which you could just use to cycle if you want to. Like if you hit like another Reconsider off the top of your deck, there's really no reason to keep 2, except in like extreme niche cases. So Jayan, this is almost exactly like game 1. Jayan playing a Dark Bargain, turn 2. Oh, it has another duress, Jesus. And Till the Fields, Reconsider, Conjure Realities. I think any of these are acceptable, but I think probably Reconsider or Conjure, because Till the Fields isn't scary without mana auras. And yep, gonna grab the Conjure Realities. Herzi is left with nothing but the Reconsider and Till the Fields. And while Till the Fields can flip into a mana aura that takes 5 mana, which I think Jayan is pretty okay with Herzi tapping out to turn 5. Oh, but the top deck Primal Resurgence. Oh my god, that's really good. And then next turn, like, Till the Fields can go mana positive, or if Herzi has another land, Herzi can cast Till the Fields, put it on the island, untap all of their lands. Untap that one land, and go, I think it would be 1 mana negative, but at that point you kind of don't care. Anyways, Jayan cracking the Dark Bargain, and hits another Dark Bargain. If it was a third piece of hand attack, I was definitely going to scream. That would be so unlucky for Herzi. I think if you're Herzi, you want to hit a land. Okay, so it's going to Reconsider, cycle it, probably hoping to draw into a land, so Herzi can Till the Fields right here. And yep, hits a Mysterious Cataract. That is 5 mana. And yep, here comes the Fabled Till the Fields, going to flip into a double mana aura. Also gets a Scry. And yep. So now this island produces 4 mana, has a Sleeping Dryads in hand. Again, I think dropping it on the island. The single island now produces 5 mana. Also can cycle. I think Herzi's empty-handed, so can cycle the Sleeping Dryads if Herzi needs to, and then just like hope to draw into like actual gas. So Jayan's gonna crack the Dark Bargain to draw another card. Notably, Hand Attack is dead right now, which is kind of hilarious. Yep, Jayan playing a Shock Fetch, going down. Jayan's already down to 10 life, just off of like Shock Fetches plus Dark Bargains. So it's gonna... Oh, interesting. Jid side into Lost in Smoke. Oh, because Lost in Smoke it's not non-land permanent, it's a land. So Jayan can Lost in Smoke the land and then just flicker it and then just... Oh my god, and Jayan and like Herzi loses all of their auras. Oh no. That might just end the game. Herzi doesn't have mana. Herzi no longer has a Sleeping Dryads to cantrip. Yeah, Herzi just passing right there. I guess could have drawn into like a Buyin Thoughts or some 5 mana thing. Or like a reconsider, which Herzi's planning to cycle on end. And move JN down to 7 life. Probably getting some sort of basic to turn off the pain land right here. No, getting another Murmuring Falls. Okay, I guess needs double blue this turn. Okay, just goes to end. Maybe has double Thought Blossom? Herzi tapping for Conjure Realities. It's really good. Can tutor up anything in Herzi's library. What would Herzi tutor? Like a Buyin Thoughts would make sense. It would refill Herzi's entire hand, but Herzi doesn't have the mana to cast it. Unless Herzi's other card in hand is a land. But then if it was a land, why not play it last turn? Maybe don't play it last turn in order to bait Jane into using hand attack on it. Also, I feel like if Jane had Thought Blossom, Jane would have just Thought Blossom to Conjure Realities. There's basically no reason not to. Ooh, an Intel Erasure also works. And no Abound. Why not Abound the Entalon Erasure right now? It doesn't want to give JN access to more, I guess, Yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't just Abound Entalon Erasure there. Like, you don't want to give JN access to cards early on? So JN is going to have buy time. Oh, okay, that's something that you hold up 4 mana for. I don't know. And it's also a reason not to care about your life. And then next turn, if JN has all or nothing, I think this game is pretty over. Yeah, it's 4 mana with red. That's all or nothing. JN can just draw his entire deck. And Herzi concedes. So good games, but JN on Grixis buy time takes it 2-0 over HerziQuerzi on green-blue Landstorm.